The film begins with a terrified man sprinting through a dense forest, clutching a gun tightly. His fear is palpable as he desperately flees from an unseen threat. In this tense moment, he encounters his friend Diego, who attempts to calm him down. Both men are armed, hinting at their intent to hunt or confront something menacing. As they exchange words, the man expresses regret about their previous scamming of tourists, implying that it was a safer endeavor. Diego, however, argues that their current pursuit will yield greater profits. Their conversation is interrupted when they notice movement in a nearby bush. Overwhelmed by fear, the man abandons Diego, convinced that their current path is a risky endeavor. He continues to sprint through the forest until he stumbles and falls. There, on the ground, he is confronted by a chilling sight, a human skeleton. His intensifies, and he lets out a harrowing scream as the scene transitions. In the next scene, we meet Sophia and Josh, a couple who are traveling to Colombia for a vacation and to visit their friend, Marcos. Sophia is a doctor from Colombia, so they are excited about the trip. However, it becomes evident from their conversation in the car that they are not entirely happy with each other. Tensions escalate quickly, leading to an argument about their children. Upon reaching their hotel, they are greeted by Marcos, who is delighted to see them. Marcos had primarily invited them for work-related reasons, but there is some leisure time before their professional commitments begin. The warm embrace of their old friend momentarily masks the growing tension between Sophia and Josh. As they agree to join Marcos for dinner, he informs them that he has already booked their room. Initially, this news sounds comforting, but it quickly turns into a double-edged sword. Sophia, feeling the strain of their recent arguments and longing for some personal space, suggests that they have separate rooms to enjoy their stay more comfortably. However, Josh failed to communicate this preference to Marcos when making the reservation. At the front desk, Josh hesitates before confessing to the receptionist that he hasn't informed Marcos about booking 2 rooms. His shoulders slump as he learns that all other rooms in the hotel are already occupied. He returns to Sophia with a defeated look, sharing the unwelcome news. Left with no other viable option, Sophia and Josh reluctantly agree to share a room for the duration of their stay, all while simmering resentment continues to build. Inside their shared room, frustration brews anew. Sophia cannot suppress her anger and disappointment, which quickly escalates into another argument. She is upset with Josh for not being forthright with Marcos about their room preference, a simple yet significant detail. In an attempt to ease her irritation, Josh offers to sleep on the couch, a gesture intended to mollify Sophia's simmering anger. Despite Josh's well-intentioned offer, Sophia remains inconsolable. She explains that the sole reason she agreed to embark on this trip with Josh was to escape the relentless demands of parenthood for a brief respite. The allure of quality time together, free from the responsibilities and stresses of parenting, had enticed her. Sharing a room with Josh feels like a regression into the everyday grind they had hoped to escape. As the evening unfolds, tension continues to mount between Sophia and Josh. The promise of a peaceful vacation with a dear friend hangs in the balance, overshadowed by the unresolved issues that have marred their relationship in recent times. That night, the trio gather at a dinner table as planned. The restaurant is abuzz with lively chatter, and the tantalizing aroma of Colombian cuisine wafting through the air. The warm ambience stands in stark contrast to the simmering tension between Sophia and Josh. As they engage in conversation, Marcos, with his keen perception, cannot help but sense the underlying discord between the couple. He decides to start with a sumptuous Colombian meal, intending to treat them to the authentic flavors of the region. However, to Marcos' surprise, Sophia throws a curveball into the proceedings. She calmly informs him that she has adopted a vegetarian diet, a revelation that momentarily leaves him taken aback. He casts his mind back, unable to recall her ever following such a dietary preference. This unexpected development further fuels his suspicion that something deeper is amiss within their relationship. Undeterred, Marcos shifts the conversation to the prospect of exploring a beautiful hiking spot nearby, an opportunity for them to enjoy the breathtaking natural beauty of Colombia. He extends a warm invitation to both Josh and Sophia, envisioning a day filled with camaraderie and adventure. However, Josh, speaking on Sophia's behalf, declines the invitation with an assertion that she isn't particularly fond of hiking. This statement ignites Sophia's irritation, and she swiftly fires back, vehemently asserting her love for hiking. She highlights the harsh reality of their situation, explaining that she has been deprived of the activity she cherishes due to their parental responsibilities. In a candid moment, Sophia reveals that, although her passion for hiking burns brightly, she must forego this excursion because of pressing work-related responsibilities. She concedes that she won't be able to join Marcos and Josh on this adventure, as she needs to dedicate her time to preparing for an upcoming work presentation. Before the weight of this revelation can fully sink in, Sophia promptly excuses herself from the dinner table, citing her need for rest. Her abrupt departure leaves Marcos deeply concerned, and he turns to Josh, earnestly inquiring if something he said might have inadvertently upset her. Josh, however, decides that the time has come to unveil the unvarnished truth. Overwhelmed by a swirling maelstrom of emotions, he teeters on the brink of tears but manages to choke them back. With a heavy heart, he confides in Marcos that their relationship is slowly disintegrating. The harsh reality of this recent development has left him deeply wounded. Sophia's decision to end their partnership stems from a growing realization that they've drifted apart, and their once harmonious connection has devolved into discord and discontent. Marcos is left utterly stunned, as he had always seen them as the perfect couple. Words fail him in this moment of revelation. When he finally regains his composure, Josh suggests they proceed with their hiking plans the following day and manages a faint attempt at a smile. He returns to the room, where he decides to sleep on the couch. Meanwhile, Sophia lies awake in bed, her eyes wide open, nursing her emotions and unable to find sleep. The next morning, Sophia rises early and sets to work on her presentation outside their room. She also begins researching a nearby destination known as Chauachi, piquing her interest. Upon re-entering the room, she finds Josh still in his pajamas and seemingly unprepared for the day. He informs her that Marcos had other commitments, leading to the cancellation of their hiking plans. However, Sophia is determined to visit Chauachi and return by nightfall. Josh is taken aback by her insistence on going alone, and tries to convince her otherwise, citing the potential dangers of solo travel in that area. Despite her reluctance to spend more time with Josh, she concedes to his point about safety and agrees to go with him instead of venturing out alone. They visit the hotel reception, where they are provided with a map for their journey to Chauachi. Josh contemplates taking a shortcut through Las Arenas to save time, but the receptionist strongly advises against it, describing Las Arenas as an exceedingly perilous place where few dare to tread. As Sophia and Josh depart, the receptionist exchanges a knowing nod with Diego, the man they encountered in the forest earlier. Given their history of scamming tourists, this ominous development bodes ill for Sophia and Josh's journey. Silence envelops the car as they continue their journey, not exchanging a single word. They draw closer to their destination, but they must abandon the vehicle and proceed on foot through the dense woods. After a few minutes of walking, punctuated by their stubborn silence, they pause to quench their thirst with some water. Josh detects a looming change in the weather and suggests returning instead of pressing on. Sophia, reluctant but practical, eventually acquiesces to his suggestion. As they retrace their steps toward the car, they stumble upon a troubling sight, Diego attempting to break into their vehicle. Uncertain about the best course of action, they decide to hide and watch his actions. Sophia, seeking to avoid confrontation, urges Josh to remain hidden. However, he acts impulsively, foolishly approaching Diego from a distance. In an instant, Diego brandishes a firearm, escalating the situation and issuing threats. He demands to know if there are others present, forcing Sophia to reveal herself. When Diego's guard momentarily wanes, as he investigates their belongings, Josh strikes him and the two make a frantic escape. Gunshots ring out as Diego fires in their direction, but they manage to flee, with hearts pounding in fear. The rain continues to pour as they run, eventually coming to a halt, where their senseless argument reignites. Sophia asserts that if Josh had heeded her advice and stayed behind, the attacker would not have caught them. Suppressing panic, Josh urges Sophia to flee as far as possible, assuring her he'll find a way to catch up. Sophia heeds his advice and runs, putting distance between herself and their assailant. However, her flight takes an unfortunate turn when she collides with a tree branch, rendering her unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she's relieved to find that Diego has not discovered her. She decides to move on and search for Josh. As she ventures onward, dizziness sets in, causing her to inadvertently step into a treacherous pit of quicksand, a perilous situation. Her body's weight exceeds the sand's buoyant force, making escape impossible without professional assistance. She keeps screaming for Josh as she is stuck in the quicksand, and he finally finds her. She urgently tells him to halt, fearing he'll become ensnared too. Josh attempts various methods to rescue her, but each effort proves futile. As he endeavors to extract her with a stick, it breaks and she sinks deeper into the quicksand. Left with no alternative, Josh plunges in after her, managing to keep her face above the mud so she can breathe. Trapped together, frustration and fear mount. Meanwhile, Marcos returns to their hotel room and knocks repeatedly, receiving no response. After checking his messages, he discovers that Josh and Sophia ventured to Chauachi. Back in the quicksand, Josh endeavors to soothe Sophia's anxiety by explaining that he's never heard of anyone perishing in quicksand, believing that help will arrive soon. As they contemplate their dire predicament, they spot an egg precariously perched on the quicksand's edge. Sophia discerns that its stability suggests the edge might be more secure. She implores Josh to guide her toward the edge, but their initial attempt proves fruitless, the sand's weight overwhelming their effort. As they prepare for another try, a growing unease descends upon them as Sophia senses that something else dwells beneath the surface. Terrified and surprised by their gruesome discovery, they find the body of the man who had been with Diego submerged in the quicksand. Sophia panics when she sees the body and believes the quicksand claimed his life, and now they might be next. Josh tries to put Sophia at ease by suggesting they can escape if they stay calm. He searches the man's belongings and finds a useful knife. Josh then outlines a plan. They can cut the bag into strips, tie them together to make a rope, and attach the knife to one end. Sophia can then throw the knife rope at a nearby boulder in her direction. Once it catches on the rock, she can try to pull herself out. At first, Sophia is hesitant, thinking it's too difficult, but Josh encourages her to give it a shot. Back at the hotel, Marcos waits in the lobby for Josh and Sophia to return. Suddenly, he notices a suspicious man checking Sophia's bag, and it turns out to be Diego, the man who attacked the couple. Marcos confronts Diego, and things quickly escalate. Then, Marcos spots blood on Diego's shirt, making him even more furious and concerned about what may have happened to his friends. He tries to restrain him, but hotel security intervenes, separating them. Meanwhile, Josh and Sophia manage to create a rope, but when Sophia tries to throw it to catch a big rock, she fails multiple times. She becomes upset, but Josh reassures her that they can make the rope longer by using his jacket. However, Sophia is concerned about the cold weather, and Josh is worried that she might freeze without her jacket. This leads to a disagreement, and Sophia expresses doubt about whether Marcos will come to rescue them. As they debate their situation, they spot a helicopter in the distance, bringing a glimmer of hope. They start yelling and waving to get the helicopter's attention but are unsuccessful. Sophia then suggests burning the rope with a lighter they found in the back, hoping that the smoke would alert the people in the helicopter to their presence. Josh, however, opposes this idea, believing that the rope is their last hope, leading to another argument between them. Amid their argument, the helicopter flies away, leaving them frustrated. Once again, Sophia becomes furious and convinced that creating a fire would have saved them. Then, she blames Josh for their missed opportunity. Josh, on the other hand, continues to insist that Marcos will come to their rescue, convinced he will realize something is wrong. Their ongoing debate pushes Sophia to a breaking point, and she starts laughing uncontrollably, which Josh joins in on. They both start to laugh hysterically, believing that help will arrive soon and they will be back home by dinner. However, their laughter is abruptly interrupted when Sophia feels a sharp, biting pain on her shoulder. She begins to scream, and Josh discovers a swarm of ants biting her shoulder relentlessly. With no other options available, Josh reaches into his bag and takes out a bottle of vodka. He hands it to Sophia, who pours the entire bottle onto her shoulder, eliminating many of the biting ants. As the ants finally release their grip, Sophia notices that Josh has been carrying alcohol with him all along. This revelation shocks her, as Josh had been sober for a long time, especially for the sake of his kids. Sophia gets angry and demands to know how long he has been drinking again. Josh, while being teary-eyed, confesses that he recently started drinking again due to the stress of their impending divorce. He emphasizes that he did it because he cares about his children, and Sophia, having experienced a similar situation, understands the struggles he's going through. As they continue their conversation, Sophia's gaze falls upon the rifle and a realization hits her. She points out that the rifle still has 2 rounds left, and they could have fired it at the helicopter to grab its attention. They both feel a deep sense of regret for not thinking of this earlier. Suddenly, something hits her and Sophia asks for the rifle. Josh hesitates but eventually hands it over. Then, she attempts to extend the rope using the belt attached to the rifle. Josh expresses doubt, noting that even with a longer rope, reaching the rock seems impossible. While she persists in her efforts, Sophia spots a giant snake approaching. Nervous and speculating that the snake might be drawn by the earlier discovered egg, she's advised by Josh to remain calm so as not to provoke it. Josh's limited mobility rules out trying to physically handle the snake, so he instructs Sophia to cautiously aim the rifle at it and fire. Although Sophia is anxious, having never used a firearm before, Josh urges her on. As the snake advances, Josh gets bitten on the arm. In desperation, Sophia pulls the trigger, causing the snake to retreat. The immediate threat vanishes, but their predicament remains dire. Turns out the snake is highly venomous, which causes Josh's condition to deteriorate rapidly. Seeing Josh in pain, Sophia uses the belt from the rifle to tightly bind his arm, attempting to stem the bleeding. Josh grimly acknowledges that the poison could shut down his organs, leading to his demise unless he receives medical attention. Sophia tries to calm him down and counters that there's still a 6-hour window, offering a glimmer of hope for their survival. In the meantime, Marcos finds himself at a police station with Diego, anxiously inquiring about his missing friends. Diego, however, remains tight-lipped, refusing to divulge any information. Recognizing that violence won't work, Marcos resorts to offering money. He offers Diego $200, but the reticent man demands Marcos' watch instead. Marcos hesitates, revealing the sentimental value of the watch, a gift from his father. Despite this, he relinquishes the watch, highlighting the depth of his concern for Josh and Sophia. Finally, Diego begins to speak, disclosing his occasional visits to Las Arenas. Alongside pilfering from tourists, Diego hunts snakes in this treacherous location, as both the snake's poison and skin hold significant value. Diego reveals to Marcos that he encountered Josh and Sophia in Las Arenas earlier, attempting to steal from them. However, they resisted and fled. He strongly implies that their chances of survival in that perilous place are slim, mentioning he went there with a friend but returned alone. Concerned and determined, Marcos desperately seeks to leave and assist them, but the guard blocks his path. Repeatedly asserting his medical expertise and the gravity of his friend's situation, he pleads to be allowed to help. Meanwhile, Josh is now screaming as he feels excruciating pain, and Sophia tries to calm him down. She reminds him that he needs to keep his heart rate slow and stay calm so that the poison doesn't spread fast. He also agrees and stops yelling. He then asks her why she declined to hike with Marcos and him, and this makes her realize something. She takes all the blame and thinks that all of this is her fault. While she is talking about it, Josh feels more pain in his neck and starts screaming again. Sophia sees that venom is clotting on his neck, which is also restricting the blood flow to his brain. She observes the clot and decides that she needs to operate on it. If the clot stops the blood from reaching his brain, he can get paralyzed. Then, she takes out a lighter and tries to light it just to confirm that it can work. Despite her attempts to save him, Josh claims that he is done for, so she should let him be. However, Sophia does not give up and asks him to stop moving. After warning him about the pain, she starts cutting his neck open to remove the clot. It hurts him, but the pain is not yet over. She heats up the knife using the lighter. This is necessary because she cannot let the wound stay open, or else Josh could bleed out. Then, she takes the hot knife and places it on the wound as it seals the wound by burning the skin. Having successfully completed the impromptu operation, Sophia experiences a glimmer of relief, knowing that Josh's condition has improved. Despite their dire circumstances, a fleeting sense of contentment washes over them. They engage in a heartfelt conversation, during which Sophia confides that she misses her job. While her love for her children runs deep, she yearned for a brief respite from the demands of caring for them. Josh commends Sophia's bravery in leaving her job to care for their children, acknowledging her as the perfect mother and wife. They share heartfelt expressions of love, holding hands tightly in the face of adversity. Sophia remains determined, brainstorming ways to extend their rope. She proposes using the snake they encountered earlier, which is long and thick. Josh, resigned to their fate, expresses doubt about the idea. Sophia, undeterred, locates a pair of binoculars and carefully cleans them, removing the dirt and dust that had settled on them during their ordeal. With the binoculars in hand, she searches the surroundings meticulously, her eyes scanning the wilderness, believing that the snake could provide the solution they so desperately need. After what feels like an eternity of anxious searching, her heart skips a beat as she finally spots the snake, coiled and resting not too far from their location. A glimmer of hope emerges, and they exchange a determined look, ready to face the challenge together. Josh pleads for Sophia to stop and give up, as he feels his own life slipping away. But Sophia refuses to surrender, using everything at her disposal to lure the snake closer. After numerous attempts, she finally captures the snake's attention, and it starts approaching her. As the snake gets nearer, Sophia prepares the rifle. However, her visibility is limited, and she can no longer see the snake, realizing it must be behind her. With the knife's reflective surface, she catches a glimpse of the snake approaching from behind. She turns around and fires a shot, but misses, and the snake remains alive. After this, the snake swiftly enters the quicksand and bites Sophia on the hand, while its powerful coils wrap around her body and tighten, squeezing the life out of her. Gasping for breath, Sophia struggles, and her strength is waning. In this dire moment, Josh summons a burst of courage and strength, seizing the knife and thrusting it into the snake's head, its blood splattering onto Sophia's face. The snake is finally defeated, and Sophia, though weak and battered, knows that she can now use it as a last resort to escape the quicksand's deadly grip. With grim determination, Sophia opens the snake's mouth using her knife and secures it tightly to the rest of the rope. At long last, the rope is of sufficient length. With Josh bearing witness to her struggle, she repeatedly throws the rope toward the rock. After several attempts, she succeeds in landing the rope squarely on top of the rock, and a glimmer of hope begins to shine. Laughter bubbles up from within Sophia as she tells Josh to hold on, for they are on the verge of salvation. With her last reservoirs of strength, she commences the arduous task of pulling herself out of the quicksand, the rope serving as her lifeline. Each tug feels like a monumental effort, but she perseveres. Sophia's labors bear fruit as she emerges from the treacherous quicksand. Despite her exhaustion, she rushes back to assist Josh, but he implores her to leave him behind and escape. Tears stream down her face as she grapples with the emotional turmoil of abandoning. However, the urgency of her snakebite drives her forward. Sophia musters her remaining strength and reluctantly leaves Josh behind, her heart heavy with the weight of her decision. She pushes onward, determined to find help. Finally, Sophia stumbles upon the rescue team, led by Marco. They swiftly attend to her, draping a warm blanket around her shoulders. As they embark on the mission to retrieve Josh, Sophia sits inside the ambulance, her worry and anxiety mounting. Watching Marcos and the team carry Josh back to safety, she leans in and kisses him as relief and gratitude wash over her.